Good evening. The public speak out portion of the Springfield City Council will now come to order.
Not really. It passes, so I'll try.
We have 3 individuals signed up for public speak out. All 3 are present in person. We're joined for public speak out by Councilor Perez, Councilor Allen, Councilor Govan, Councilor Davila, and virtually we are joined also by Councilor Hurst and Councilor Whitfield. Your names will be called in the order by which you signed up, and the first individual on the list is Erica Swallow. So if you can step forward and state your name and address for the record, and we also ask that you reserve your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay. Erica Swallow, 64 Washington Road. I'm here regarding the historic preservation amendment defining a preferably preserved building as any building within the city of Springfield which is 75 years or older as recorded by the assessor, rather than the current 100 years for preferred preservation. The current definition, unfortunately, does not meet the community's needs, nor does it meet national or historically minded standards. When we look at the national standard, the standard for the National Registry of Historic Places is that a property must have acquired its significance over 50 years. That's half the age of Springfield's current 100 years. If we look at historically minded communities around the state of Massachusetts, we'll see that 150 Massachusetts cities and towns, including our own, set a standard regarding preferable preservation status based on building age. In touted communities such as Cambridge, the threshold is 50 years. In our well-preserved neighbor to the north, Northampton, the threshold is set at pre-1945, which is currently 77 years as of this year. And even still, some communities set no date but allow their historic commission to determine the historical, architectural, or geographic significance of a building on an individual basis. If we look at Springfield itself, we can look at our history and see our community has gone to bat for historic buildings. Looking at the establishment of historic districts and when they were designated as local historic districts, we have in 1972 the Quadrangle Mattoon Street Historic District. More than half of the row houses on Mattoon Street would not have met the current 100-year standard when the district was designated. In 1974, it was added to the National Registry. In 1975, Forest Park Heights Historic District was designated locally. Only 2 houses in Forest Park Heights would have met the 100-year standard in 1975. In 1982, that was added to the National Register. And in 1976, the McKnight District was determined local historic district. Less than roughly 20% of the houses in McKnight would have met the current 100-year definition in 1976 when it was designated, which was also the year it was added to the National Register. Springfield is one of Massachusetts and the nation's fine historic communities. We boast buildings and homes that other communities will never have, and these structures must be protected because once they're gone, they're never retrieved. We're not asking for a complete rewrite to Springfield's Historic Preservation Code. We're merely asking that the age for preferable preservation be reduced from 100 years to 75 years, which is a conservative reduction that doesn't even meet the national standard of 50 years. We applaud the City Council for bringing this amendment to light, and we hope that you will support the reduction from 100 years to 75 years. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Springfield Preservation Trust as well as myself.
Thank you, Ms. Swallow. That was 3 minutes on the mark. The next individual who has signed up for public speak out is James Boone.
Thank you. My name is James Boone. I live at 97 Florida Street in Springfield, and I'm here to speak about the amendment of the Demolition Delay Ordinance. This ordinance has been a great benefit to the city of Springfield. It's provided the time needed to save some significant and now productive buildings in Springfield that otherwise would have been demolished. The Willys Overland building now is market rate housing. The National Needle building on Emory Street is now a productive tax-producing building. The Underwood building at the corner of Dwight and Worthington in the heart of the entertainment district also. These buildings were 100 years old, so they were protected from the immediate demolition that was proposed. But there are other buildings in Springfield of architectural and historical significance that have not had their 100th birthday and may be endangered by demolition without this protection. The most significant is the Isolation Hospital at 1414 State Street, now listed on Preservation Mass's most endangered list. It's only 92 years old. Without protection or the ability to delay for 9 months its demolition, a viable developer would not have time to save it from destruction. That would be a great loss. Other buildings that will be protected by this amendment are the Farm Bank at 310 State Street, built in 1924, the Spanish Christian Church, the former Jewish temple on Chestnut Street, 1925, the Art Deco building at 1600 Main Street, 1939, Carpenter's Hall on Oakland Street, 1937, the Post Office building on Dwight Street, 1932, the Hippodrome Theater, 1926, the Bing Theater of 1940, the buildings at the corner of Main and State, 1927, that were proposed for demolition as part of the Court Square Hotel project. The Water Shops Armory has many buildings from 1925 and later. So you can see the amendment to protect buildings 75 years or older will benefit the city. Demolition delay does not prevent demolition. It just buys time for reasonable exploration of alternatives for the reuse of architecturally or historically significant buildings by responsible and creative developers and owners. If a building is not historical or of architectural significance, the Historic Commission can waive the delay, so it is not a burden. This amendment is a win for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. The final individual signed up for public speak out this evening is Rhonda Latin.
Good afternoon and thank you. I own property at 22 Scarsdale Road in Springfield, Mass. I'm here tonight with my concerns over the no transparency with the settlement agreement process due to the appointment of the retired Judge John Payne, Superintendent Cheryl Caparu, Special Captain Trent Duda, Sergeant Karen Simmons, and Detective Gregory McCain of the District Attorney Special Victims Unit in 2020. In 2020, a Boston Globe headliner described the Springfield Police Department as one of the worst police departments in the country due to the rise of brutality as the city's worst kept secret. However, another worst kept secret existed in April 2020 as well. The unspoken understanding between the Springfield Police Special Victims Unit and the City of Springfield and the willful criminal interference and failure to properly investigate the now-deceased 109 years old Alberta Dolly Howard, who died under the continuous elder abuse of James Charles Votes and claimed the life of his son Pierce Pico Howard. On May 16th, on behalf of Alberta Howard, I filed a complaint against James Votes, incident number 5432, offense number, call number 299499, with the warrant 2801. I had no knowledge we were exposing the elderly abuse, fraud, scam, and homicide of his son, Pierce Pico Howard. On May 17, 2020, I spoke with Sergeant Karen Simmons, who told me to make an appointment with Detective Gregory McCain on May 18th with the behavioral health assessment at Alberta Howard, who declared that Alberta Howard, at the age of 107, was competent to provide a statement of the elderly abuse, and no Section 12 was needed. And on that date, Detective Gregory McCain filled out a warrant for James Votes. On May 19, 20, Alberta Howard filed an abuse prevention order against James Votes, which was granted by Judge Patrick Sabbs, docket number 2023 RO 766, and the retired Judge Payne names appear as the witness. The warrant was delivered that night against James Votes. On June 1st, 2020, while James Votes was impersonating a nephew to be the nephew of Alberta Howard, he filed for a protection order, injunction relief, docket number 20P0833, with the assistance of Executive Director Jill Keel, Case Manager Fred Davis of the Greater Springfield Senior Services, with Judge Ellen Randall presiding. After May 18th and 19th and 20th, James Votes, while still with a warrant against him, went in front of the Family Probate Court and filed a complaint on May 20th, docket number HD2P11243EA, for the estate of a Joseph Robert Copeland. In 2021, James Votes received $1.2 million from Joseph Copeland's estate. On May 3rd, 2021, I brought my concerns of the abuse of Roberta Howard to the attention of the City Council members, the now Superintendent Cheryl Caparu, and Captain Trent Duda. On May 6, 2021, retaliated against me by issuing a no trespass order, barring me from any in-person access to all police departments in the city of Springfield, and stopping Wayman Rainey and I from filing any complaints against James Votes. Special Captain Trent Duda is now actively participating on the policy for the use of force under the settlement agreement, to include the Massachusetts Senior Action Council, which is one of the organizations working with the compliance team. Bernice Azell, who is an active member of the Senior Council, is the sister of James Votes. As I am now speaking, James Votes is in probate family court, still committing the elderly abuse fraud and scam, because on March 18, 2020, James Votes filed a fraudulent petition for the estate of Paris Pico Howard, docket number HD22 P0640EA, the deceased son of Roberta Howard, and Judge Ellen Randall is presiding over the case, who is the same judge in 2020. I reported the fraudulent certificates of death created by James Votes under the supervision of Commissioner Helen Carlton Harris of the Health and Human Services, with Mirisano, John Payne, and Superintendent Cheryl Caparu signatures on the settlement agreement, the involvement and participation of Special Captain Trent Duda and Bernice Azell of the Massachusetts Senior Action Council. All of these individuals who have circumvented themselves into the settlement agreement process, the question needs to be considered: are they there for the protection of the public or themselves? And in my belief, their participation provides no transparency in this entire process of the settlement agreement. The actions of the Springfield Police Special Victims Unit and the crimes against these elders are still taking place and falls under the same Federal Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 that initiated the investigation of the Springfield Police Department narcotics, and additional investigation needs to be for the federal court against the Special Victims Unit. I have emailed all the documents.
Mrs. Latin, your time has expired, and I'd ask that you
Okay, thank you.
wrap up your
So
comments.
I emailed all the documents to support my claim. So I'm asking that you investigate on behalf of the elders of your cities and for your life, or when you become an elder, to stop this crime of elderly abuse that's running rampant in the city of Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Latney, and thank you to all of our guests for public speak out this evening. The council will now stand adjourned until our regular meeting at 7 o'clock.